Alright everyone, Skoggle here, doing another matchup. We're doing Akali versus Wukong in the middle. Both assassins, kind of just who does more damage and how to control the lane. Akali has a little bit of advantage in that she has no mana. And here she's actually going to leash for the Sins to get him ahead top lane instead of leashing for Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks has drain and he's fairly safe, and what they're going to do is, purple team's been doing this, I've noticed a lot, is you give your top lane a Wraith Camp to get him ahead to snowball the top lane. So right now I know a lot of top laners have been trying to stop that from happening, where they'll go out there and either ward it or try to attack him to make him suffer for it, because you can get ahead a little bit by getting Wraith Camp. So she's helping leash that, getting out some damage, and going out to the lane. And then in the lane, she just needs to try to be using your Qs on Wukong instead of using her Qs onto minions to farm, and just trying to stay aggressive on him. And then they both have their little invisibility tricks. So there, because he has to leap in, and she had already landed a Q, she could land her auto attack, which marks the second part of the Q damage, which will really help with damage. Onto Wukong, and then started Cloth 5 pots to try to sustain through the damage that Wukong will do. Able to start Cloth and still start double passives. If you play Akali, you should know how to do that, runes and masteries. It's like 7 marks attack damage with 2 magic pen marks, and then for blues it was something like 3 flat AP with 6 scaling AP, and then just knowing your mastery setup. 21 into offense, but you specifically need the flat attack damage and some of the flat AP, and then the magic pen. And that gets you your double passives, which will basically, it's your double passives that make it so you can out sustain and trade really strong with Wukong. So you can see she's just spamming it. The one thing that's going to hurt her in this lane is that Nunu camps her, and even still she does a great job. This Akali does a great job. So the Twilight, the Shroud, is able to keep her safe until Wukong can show up. So you want to get that second, another point in Q before you get your E. So that's the skill order she's going. And she's able to pretty hard deny just through her ass onto Wukong. And you could see Nunu over by the race just with the ward, but you can see Nunu always just coming back. And the ward's gone, and that's actually going to be fairly bad, just because when you're Akali and you're zoning them really hard and playing aggressive and forward, you can kind of expect to be camped. That's possibly one of the unfortunate things by playing Akali. The fortunate part is your other lanes probably won't receive as much jungle pressure, because you're probably going to be absorbing it. So if you can handle it, then it'll probably help your team, because you'll be the one absorbing a lot of it. Here, the Shroud's going to allow her to get the Q onto Wukong, and then she's able to grab First Blood with Ignite, and with Ignite on her ticking away, she wasn't getting away, so she tried to get some extra damage on the Nunu. So she did get the First Blood, so even though Nunu or Wukong picked up a kill in return to keep him somewhat viable in the game, she picked up First Blood, and she is ahead. And Fiddlesticks did fine. He came out okay. And that was okay for her team, because she grabbed that First Blood. And she will trade a lot harder than Wukong will right now. And she sustains a lot better than Wukong does. So Akali's still looking really good in this lane. Just a champion with a lot of damage and a lot of sustain. If you grab some potions to back that up and some decent warding. It's just possibly not enough warding because she gets camped. It's not really her fault, but she does win the lane even while getting camped. That's just something you can do on Akali. So here you can just see the damage coming out. just always be looking to spam your damage out on the other champion with your Qs, and you'll be looking alright. And here, just not quite level 6 yet, chases him off, prioritizes damage over farm, and then has quite a bit of sustain off her passive, and then when you get your gun blade, it goes up even farther. And then her potions are just ticking away, and that will be all of her potions used up just from some heavy damage trades. And we'll be hitting level 6 in a minute, and that's when she gets, now she's 6 and she just needs a couple stacks. Unfortunately, she jumped right into a bait right into Nunu, who can finish up the kill. So that's the only problem, is getting baited right there, but other than that, she's doing a great job of out-trading with Wukong, out-damaging Wukong. So with Akali, you want to play aggressive and stay aggressive. There's just going to be games where you'll get baited. And you could tell Nunu is just really camped her, but she's denied Wukong so heavily that it doesn't matter. Even though she's 1 and 2, she's up in gold, 300 gold, almost 400 gold, through CSing, through the first blood. So staying aggressive is actually paid off, even though it doesn't feel like it probably should, because she has died twice. It's still been okay. So sometimes your teammates might even be mad, but if you know that you're winning hard enough and they're not doing, if you're winning the damage trade still, you're actually doing okay. You're still ahead. It really just matters if you get to the point where you can't fight them. So getting some damage done on the tower is always important. Always good to have pressure in the lane. And with your sustain, you can tank the lane up a little bit, and it doesn't matter. So once your Hex Tech blade or your revolver is done, you have a ton of sustain, and this player grabs a ton of potions every time he backs. Very good idea. But getting camp, so you do want to keep wards. You want to keep wards when you're Akali, because you want to be able to play aggressive and go after them without getting baited. If you can have a ward on each side, you'll jump into bad situations less often and be able to do these fights a little bit safer than you would otherwise. And even with everything that's gone wrong in this game, you can see that she still has the option to just go in and get a kill. And even with the pink ward down, and that is why Nunu can just attack, as she's been pink warded. And so even though it still takes 2 people mid, and that keeps Nunu out of the other lanes. So Nunu is not really fully available to stop Singe. Nunu is not necessarily available to stop Fiddlesticks from helping out on bottom lane. So that's just something you've got to consider, is Akali has kept the pressure on enough that Akali's been the one dealing with Nunu. So for Nunu, it's been okay, because Nunu's been able to get some gold out of it, been able to pick up kills. Wukong's quite really behind. Wukong cannot fight Akali, and Singe has been able to just do whatever he wants because Akali has kept the pressure on. So Olaf has had to deal with the pressure of that by himself, and so Singe has been free to roam, Singe has been free to make plays, just kind of do whatever. And here, because of the Shroud, Misfortune, even though she's pretty big and has Taric, can't do much, because it would have been free damage from Akali onto Misfortune, and she's too squishy for that. So if your Shroud's up, squishy champions, even fed, can't really deal with you. So her team gets a dragon because they're afraid of damage that she could do, and Singe is free to roam. Singe has been free because of the pressure she's kept on, so Nunu's had no ability to answer that, and that has been a good thing for your team. So if nothing else, Akali has made Wukong fairly useless and has allowed Singe to be free. So mostly she just played aggressive, she kept poking Qs, she's maxing her Q, 1 point in W and then E second, but You basically just need to be doing as much damage early game as you can with your Q, and if he leaps onto you, you need to be returning that auto attack damage, which procs off your Q as well. So that's how you want to play the lane. It's aggressive, even though she got ganked for it. If she hadn't been getting, if Wukong had not been getting ganks, it would have been just really bad, and she wouldn't have been dying in turn, which would have led to more farm and an early tower down, or more roaming presence. So that's what this would have turned into had Nunu not camped mid. And because he did have to camp mid, he couldn't camp the other lanes. And the leap just lets her get right onto the backline targets. And so even though Misfortune won her lane and was doing really good, you could see how she was able to take out the backline of Taric and Misfortune and take out the mid laner in Wukong. And Nunu escapes because he's pretty big. But anyhow, hope you learned how to play that matchup. Good luck.